Well, it's the short version, the 1 hour version of Talkback. That's John King. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We have a special guest in the studio.
That's right. We've got Casey in from the Missoula Interfaith Collaborative, and he's going to tell us a little bit about an upcoming event, right, Casey?
Yeah, that's right.
What's going on?
So the Interfaith Collaborative itself is it's a group of 20 different congregations that work together on various different community challenges. And we have our first annual, what we're calling a Faith in Action Summit. And coming up, it's going to be on April 30th. And basically what it is it's a gathering of people from 20 different congregations, everything from folks from the Christian community, from the Jewish community, and Buddhist as well. And we're going to be coming together and celebrating everything that we've been able to accomplish together with for the community. And then we're going to be looking forward at what we're going to be working on and the different types of challenges we're going to be addressing in the community.
So I want to know what you mean by interfaith. For a short time in my life, I worked as a assistant at a Presbyterian church in Oklahoma. And I remember walking down the street and seeing this sign for the Second Black Baptist Church and wondering what had happened to make that happen, because there must have been a first that split off from the second, and there must have been a white to split off from the black, so there must have been some rivalries somewhere in the past. And so I'm wondering, like, is this the first and second getting together, or is this like a whole bunch of different congregations around Missoula getting together?
Right, I think that's important. Well, so this is a group of a number of different congregations from the Christian perspective. So there'll be Clark Fork City Church there and Christian Life Center, and then also, Lutherans and Presbyterians and Catholics and as well. And then interfaith being, we also work with people that from the Jewish synagogue from Har Shalom, and then we work with a couple of Buddhist groups as well.
Oh, wow. So,
I'm longing to ask you, what have you worked in the past that you've been able to collaborate? Because it's a collaborative, obviously. You collaborate. So
sure.
what kind of things have you collaborated on in the past?
Okay.
How long has this been in existence, by the way?
So we're just coming into our third year
Okay.
of existence, and previous to that, this type of bridge building and collaboration it's years in the making.
Sure.
And so even prior to that, a couple of years of just listening and bridging conversations and helping people see where there's more common ground than there is division. Doing that for a couple of years, and then over the last 2 years is when we've really been hitting the ground running and doing big things in the community.
all right, sum that up for us. What is the common ground? What are you guys focused on?
So common ground being, service to the community and making, helping Missoula be a better place. And the focus that we have for this year is about supporting Missoulians in accessing and sustaining housing. That's number one. And then number two, it's supporting families with access to basic needs and education. Those are the two things.
So, these are programs that lots of other programs are trying to deal with too, right? So you're
Right.
one among many. I mean, including the federal government
Absolutely.
on this one. So how do you work all that out? Make sure there's not duplicative services, and make sure you're filling niches that aren't currently being filled.
Right. So that's a whole process that we have to go through. And really our role, because you're right, many different groups are working to build housing or help people get into housing. Our role is really to leverage the resources and the passions of faith communities with each and build collaboration among them, like with each other, Gotcha. But also to help them work and build collaboration with the social agencies as well.
How has the cooperation gone? I obviously for some who've been separated for a long time don't even think about the other face, and you get together, you start comparing notes, you start realizing these are real people just like me, and so you start breaking down some walls. Right? Is that what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important thing to remember is just what you said. It's at the end of the day, it's people. We're not titles of Lutheran and Presbyterian. It's people. And when you can have face-to-face interactions and you can build one-on-one relationships, that becomes really the fabric by which you can work together through trusting relationships.
So this group's been around for, 2 years, I think, right?
Yeah.
Has it borne any fruit yet?
Yeah, I think so. Over the course of the last year, we've built what we call the Homeless Advocate Network. It's a network of people that are trained to help people get into housing and jobs, and it's people from a number of different congregations. And they've helped over 50 people get into housing and and stay in housing. That's been one big one. I can keep going. If you want.
No, that's interesting. So the jobs thing, that's one thing that some personal experiences in my life recently. We had friends that recently got out of prison, and it's not an easy road to go down because no one wants to hire a criminal, even if they've served their time.
Right.
So how do you work that out? Are there businesses you go to and talk with and say, hey, this guy's good. We don't know for sure yet, but we're pretty sure he's good. And even though like half of the congregations we believe in original sin here, we think he's good. We're going to go on this guy. So how do you convince companies to hire people out of prison?
Right. Well, I don't know about half the congregations believing in original sin. I think there's more grace in the mix than there is that. But so one of the things that's happened is that we've built what's called Partners for Reintegration. It's totally its own initiative at this point, but we helped launch it. And really, what that is, it's a group of congregations that have had passion with working with people through prison ministries and such, the Department of Corrections, and a bunch of social agencies. And they've built this. It's called Partners for Reintegration, and they're helping build a network of businesses and a network of landlords and such as well. So
we're running out of time here.
Sure.
So Casey, tell us when and where this is going to happen.
Okay, so we have the Faith in Action Summit. It's April 30th, and it's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and it's at the Presbyterian Church. It's $4, but you get dinner and it's free childcare.
Cool.
Free childcare. I'm there. I don't even know what's going on.
Now, for those who don't know, where is the Presbyterian Church located?
It is. It's the church that's right by Big Dipper off of Higgins.
Boom.
Cool.
I got that one on my GPS.
You don't even need to know the address.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for coming by. We sure appreciate it. Best of luck. I'm sorry. God bless you. We don't believe in luck.
I think it's God's bless you.
That's right. God bless you. And thanks for coming by. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Now we're going to take a little break, come right back, and we have some open phones, and then I understand.
Ryan Zinke should be calling in later.
Cool. All right. We'll talk with him as well, and we'll be right back with more of Talk Back right after this. This is Talk Back, and it's Friday, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. As John mentioned a minute ago, we are hopefully expecting a call, I think about 9:30-ish or so, from Congressman Ryan Zinke from his office in Washington, D.C. So, now you brought with you something I had not seen. I've seen a picture of it, but I have not seen it in person. It is the book, Missoula. There you go.
I just banged the microphone with it.
Rape and the
and the justice system in a college town, large print, so John can read it, even though he's getting old. Edition.
That's John Krakauer's book.
That's right. Yeah, I was flipping through it. Actually, I blitzed through it last night. And
you skimmed it.
Yeah. I kind of went through the sections where I kind of knew the history.
Well, let's put it this way, folks. When John skims a book, it's like most of the rest of us reading the book. So
no, that's
he's pretty good at that stuff. So
I flashed through it. I would skip over sections like a description of Missoula's history and the mill. Things that didn't need to know about or really care about that much. But I wanted to see. I was really looking for names that I recognized and players that I knew and what his take on, like whether or not he was reading a lot of things into the story that weren't there, whether or not he was adding to the mix with his own personal positions.
Well, he's a storyteller.
He's a storyteller, and to tell a good story, you're going to have to do that a lot because we don't have cut and dry situations. No one was in that room, for example, with Jordan Johnson and the girl, right? So, there's a lot of stuff that gets mixed in there. But, my take walking away from it is that the one person that looks the worst after reading the book is probably Kirsten Pabst.
Right. Yeah, he was very rough on her.
And, to give you an idea, just kind of about the tenor that you get from the book on her, I'll read a little bit from it for you so people can kind of, take their own position away from it.
And I would also like to know, all three of our phone lines are open. I want to know how many of you people, have bought and read the book. Came out just a couple days ago, all right? And it's a fairly easy read. I mean, it's not terribly complicated.
There are some longer sections of government transcripts and stuff like that, but it's pretty easy.
All right, so
here you go. Here's a little glint of what, when it talks about a local official, this is your current county attorney.
So let's put it this way. In case you're wondering why Kirsten Pabst held a 20-minute speech at the county courthouse earlier this week, which we, by the way, captured every word. It's on our website. Once you read the rather vilifying things that Mr. Krakauer has to say about her, then you will understand why that was.
Here's just part of a chapter, and it's not all vilifying. I mean, he throws compliments in there, too. Up front, you're a great guy, Peter, but sort of situation. Okay, Kirsten Pabst's talents come, and this is Krakauer's writing now, come to the fore in the courtroom. She has a knack for charming a jury with her candor and her sly sense of humor, even as she is eviscerating a witness on cross-examination. It was obvious why defense attorney David Paoli had asked her to help him represent Jordan Johnson. Paoli is a force to reckon with, but charm is not one of his attributes. During the 17 years Pabst's work as a prosecutor in Missoula and Great Falls, she tried and won a lot of cases. She boasts on her website of having a, quote, 99% success rate at trial, end quote. But the reason her winning percentage is so high is that she did not accept cases for prosecution during those 17 years unless she was almost certain she was going to win in court or strong-arm the defendant into copping a plea. According to the investigation of the Missoula County Attorney's Office by the U.S. Department of Justice, during the final 4+ years of Kirsten Pabst's tenure running the criminal division of the MCAO prosecuted only 12% of the sexual assault cases involving adult women referred to it by the Missoula Police Department. Pabst's phenomenal success rate should therefore be a cause for concern rather than congratulation. As an experienced prosecutor told me, quote, if you're winning 99% of the time you go to trial, you are not prosecuting nearly enough of the cases that land on your desk. What Pabst's record actually shows is that she was adept at recognizing what made some rape cases problematic to prosecute, and in the spring of 2012, when she started working as defense counsel for Jordan Johnson, she made good use of that aptitude. Pabst quickly identified Cecilia Washburn's greatest vulnerability and then exploited them ruthlessly. So, anyway, you kind of get a little bit of the tenor we're talking about here. If you've read the book and want to give your take on it, we are taking calls. 721-1290 is the number, and I would love to hear what other people think. I'll give you my short takeaway. I went into this book expecting to find a great amount of in-depth research that I had not heard about. Something new, something different, maybe a piece of information that closed the case or solved any of the questions that I had, and I did not come away with that. Right. What I came away with was a crib sheet of what I already had in the Missoulian, KPAX, and other local news sources.
And us.
So if you're a Missoulian reading this, I don't think you're going to get a bunch of information. But if you're outside of Missoula, you're going to think our town is pretty screwed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of what I take away.
He's a storyteller out to make a buck. And so that's basically what it's all about. Catherine, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. From what I understand of how this kind of stuff works is a prosecutor's office, a DA's office, because it's funded by government money and is representing the state, it has to be able to have a good chance of winning a case. Otherwise, what's the point of taking it to trial? They're spending taxpayer money to do this. So they better have a really firm case before they head off into the trial phase, right?
So they need some prosecutorial discretion in order to save money, basically.
Well, that's one thing, and plus the other thing is you don't want prosecutors to be taking marginal cases to court. The presumption is always of innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. So,
one of the things that also popped up in my, some local Missoulians end up kind of looking like heroes. If you read the book, one of the first things you read about is Guy Baker. He comes off looking pretty good in the story. But if you go into the back of the book that has the dramatis persona, and it tells you a little bit about all of the characters in the book, and just listen to what he writes about Pabst, even in just a brief section that's supposed to describe her. Missoula County prosecutor, this is his definition of her, who declined to charge Calvin Smith with rape after he sexually assaulted Caitlin Kelly. Of course, he's using pseudonyms here for the women, just so everyone knows.
Right.
Shortly thereafter, Pabst resigned from the Missoula County Attorney's Office and became defense counsel for Grizz quarterback Jordan Johnson when he was charged with raping Cecilia Washburn.
Well, an allegation is an allegation, and unless it has the evidence to support the allegation, there's no point in taking it to court. I'm sorry, but that seems to be that's the way it is, which makes rape cases very difficult to prosecute.
Yeah, it does. I mean, rape cases are notoriously difficult to prosecute.
Right.
And and that's a large part of Krakauer's case. A lot of it's circumstantial, but it comes out to in general, rape cases. He says, I think it's like 80% of them never get reported. Or, he cites statistics and studies for this, but, he's saying there's a lot we don't know, and it's much bigger than you think it is.
Yes, it is. Hey, Catherine, we're up against a break. Thanks for the call. And should we give away some coffee?
Yeah, I think it is time to give some coffee.
Yes, it is.
We've got some Rocket Coffee and toast with your choice of spread to give away, and it's all free.
Would it be a French toast?
It could be.
I don't know.
I don't think so, but I don't know. But we can give it away right now. All you need to do is call 721-1290 during the break. Don't have to go on air. Don't have to talk. Easy peasy. All you have to do is dial 721-1290 and you get free coffee. What more could you ask for?
Dial?
Siri, dial 721-1290.
And I thought I was old. Okay, we're first caller wins right now at 721-1290. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. That's John King. I'm Peter Christian. We're discussing the John Krakauer book. And you had another quote?
Yeah, something else I wanted to read. And also, I wanted to kind of, I don't know if I'm trying to defend Krakauer, but just so everyone knows that doesn't read past the title of the book.
Right.
And that really is the problem for most Missoulians, I think, is the title of the book. If you read in just a little bit, I mean, he talks about how this is an issue that a whole bunch of college towns deal with. And maybe Missoula isn't even one of the worst because of the changes that the sacred, he didn't add the word sacred, but the federal government came and enforced upon us against the will of some of our local officials, most specifically Fred Van Valkenburg and Kirsten Pabst. But one of the things I wanted to bring up here, that's Krakauer's position, by the way. One of the things I wanted to bring up here was in light of what Catherine was just talking about, prosecutorial discretion.
Right.
It's one of the things that kind of got highlighted in the book. Well, it jumped out at me, at least, when I was reading it. Krakauer takes a section of something that Pabst wrote to try to get Jordan Johnson off, basically saying that there was no, this is the motion she wrote seeking for the court to dismiss the Jordan Johnson case, and basically saying that there didn't seem to be enough evidence to start the case. She writes, quote, "Understandably, the state would like to demonstrate its reflexive and compassionate response to victims of sexual crimes. Unfortunately, while multitudes of competent and noble exercises of prosecutorial discretion," and there's an asterisk, which I'm going to come back and explain to you what Krakauer says with that asterisk. So once again, unfortunately, while multitudes of competent and noble exercises of prosecutorial discretion go on unnoticed, the state has chosen to use Jordan's case, one which lacks probable cause, as a means to try to send a message. The collateral damage to Jordan and his family is immeasurable. Because the state's grounds for charging Jordan are based entirely upon the alleged victim's statements, the contradictions of her story would have completely undercut the alleged probable cause for the crime. And then the asterisk, and this is where you see a lot of Krakauer's position on here, is where he says, quote, or asterisk, Kirsten Pabst is congratulating herself here for the many cases she declined to prosecute when she ran the sexual assault division at the Missoula County Attorney's Office. So, someone like Catherine might see that and say, hey, this is someone that's using the public's money as effectively as they possibly can. And someone like Krakauer says this is someone that's not standing up for the rights of people that are abused.
Allow me to read some of Kirsten Pabst's words, because if I say mine right now, I'll get fired. Let's see. Yesterday, a book was released about Missoula, our town, Pabst. Now, these are actual words from Kirsten Pabst's address that occurred earlier this week. It was Wednesday, I think. Pabst said, yesterday a book was released about Missoula, our town, and it addressed the very heartbreaking issue and challenges surrounding of the subject of acquaintance rape, an important challenge that affects many of us. I echo the comments made yesterday by University of Montana President Royce Engstrom, who said we have strong relationships with officials, the business community, and groups across our valley. When our community faces challenges, we work together to try to find answers. Pabst then began, these are my words, I wrote this, Pabst then began a primer on what it means to be a chief prosecutor. To be the voice of the people in a court case, someone who cannot be motivated by emotion, but rather by the law and the facts of the case. Right? And I think anybody with their head about them would agree with that. And she quotes here, I'm quoting her here, the author, Krakauer, wrote on the assumption that a prosecutor's job is to blindly seek convictions. In reality, our job is to seek the truth and to do justice, which requires balance, an open mind, and a communicative approach. Pabst said the book has helped to focus her attention on improving the way her office deals with sexual assault investigations. She says, quote, while the charges that the author has made against me, my office, my predecessor, are inaccurate, exaggerated, and unnecessarily personal. Okay? He is correct that our investigation and prosecution standards needed to be improved. She wrapped up her address by detailing the many improvements made within her office that have happened over the last couple of years. Of course, she just took office a little while ago, so she has not been a member of the Missoula County Attorney's Office for many years. So
I think one of the problems that this has for me, these are all real people,
right?
And every good story needs a villain. But anyone that knows Kirsten Pabst, personally, I've met her. You've met her.
Yeah.
She's been on Talkback.
Right.
She's willing to talk to the press.
Sure.
I ended up, like a majority of people that voted in that particular election, I voted for Kirsten. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have a hard time reading things the same way, I think, that Krakauer does, just simply because they know her. And apparently he never had to sit down and talk with her.
Of course not.
And
he didn't talk with anybody at the University of Montana either. He didn't talk with President Royce Engstrom. He didn't talk with, I'm just, okay, I'm just going to take a break now before the top of my head blows off. So we're going to take a quick break. We're hoping to hear from Ryan Zinke.
Yeah, he'll call. It's probably going to be another 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
721-1290 is our number. I guess I'll just say this.
Okay.
What bothers me the most is that Missoula has had a negative spotlight on it for years over this issue. And it is, in my view, partially, yes, we had some problems. Okay, we've been addressing them for the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The University of Montana, the police department, yes, many of these changes have been forced upon us. I understand that. I know that. But the changes have been made and are being made. Why don't you go pick on another community that has a problem, like Madison, Wisconsin, or somewhere in Illinois or Indiana? It's because Missoula was already in the news. It was low-hanging fruit, and it was easy.
I know a community with lots of problems. Washington, D.C.
That sounds
Maybe
good to
we'll
me.
shift topics when we get back from
All
the
right.
break.
Well, we're going to come right back. Okay. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back on Talkback. I feel a little bit better now. All right, 721-1290. Go ahead,
I
John.
decided we should lighten Peter's load.
Okay.
So I've got something funny to play in a second,
All right,
but
right,
I do
right.
have a comment on our previous topic.
Go for it.
This one's from Rosemary. She says, although I haven't read his book yet, I am familiar with his book on Mormonism called Under the Banner of Heaven. It shows a completely skewed and poor understood view of Mormonism. He tends to cherry pick anything that is sensational. If you want to read more sensationalized and poorly thought out arguments, read his other books.
Okay.
His most popular, probably Into Thin Air, which was turned into a movie. A lot of people saw that. Didn't see that?
Not me.
Kid drives out into the wilderness.
No, was you sure it was Into the Wild?
I'm sorry, Into the Wild.
Into the Wild.
Into Thin Air might have also been him. That's the one where I think
don't
that the rugby players crash on the mountain. Anyway. Lots of horrible real life stuff.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and lighten the load.
Sure.
A linguist has been tracking all of Hillary Clinton's speeches for since the 70s.
Right.
And has noticed that she has, it's actually a pretty common trait in public speakers that travel around. But basically, they change their voice patterns to fit their audience.
Oh, okay.
And this linguist has kind of collected all these samples and shown that she is, it basically makes the argument that she has used every dialect east of the Mississippi.
She's a chameleon.
So, anyway, here's a list of Hillary Clinton from various parts of the country.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
The road to being somebody in this society starts with education. And we intend to be sure that everybody in this room and every child in this state is somebody, because we're going to give them every chance we can to develop their minds so that they can play a role in this state and this country to make it the kind of place it needs to be.
It is difficult to draw the lines between personal privacy, family privacy. But I think as a society, we've had more than enough examples.
They've just been minding their own business and they got hit by a meteor. I'm not sitting here as some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. Every time she called distraught saying her life was going to be ruined.
Well, over the weekend, Senator Clinton and her campaign took a trip down south, and apparently so did her accent. Listen to this.
I don't feel no ways tired. No! I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And the chair of all the mayors in the country, Mayor Palmer from Trenton, New Jersey.
Every one of them should have the same chances that Charlotte had, whether they're living in rural Iowa or inner city New York or anywhere else.
There you go. That last one was actually just last week. Living in rural Iowa. So there you go. Sometimes you got to just fit the mold.
Well, it's one of the things that. Okay, all right, just a real brief look at my past. Okay,
really brief.
When I was younger,
there's a book. It's called A Brief History of
Time.
I
was in a rock and roll band. Okay, and we were based out of Helena. And my buddy Mike Knight and I were bandmates, and we always traveled together in the same car, okay? Uh-huh. Well, he and I were really good at dialects. And so try to imagine, this is before CDs, cassette players and all. I mean, we're talking early 70s.
This is the formation of...
Basically, we had an AM radio, and it was bad, okay? So we're traveling, let's say we're traveling all the way from Helena to Glasgow to play a prom, and we're driving, 9-10 hours. And so all we had to do is develop these accents. And we got pretty good at it.
Now, is this where Anatoly Kisov originated?
Well, this is exactly where Anatoly Kisov came from.
How about Mr. Leprechaun?
And
do you have a name for your...
And perhaps one of my personal favorites is I bring my glasses down as Lyndon Baines Johnson Jr. says, my fellow Americans, it is with a heavy heart and an infected kidney that I come to you today to say we must reason together. How's that?
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I still like Yogi Bama the best. But that was pretty good.
Smarter than the average president.
Oh, Yogi, get yourself a girlfriend.
All right. So it's 20. We're entertaining ourselves, and hopefully till Congressman Zinke
I have another clip I'd like to play. If we got a break, right?
We're up against a break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll play another break, play another whatever. We'll come right back. Or maybe I'll just entertain you with silly accents.
It'll be like the ride to Glasgow. 9 hours.
We'll be right back. Okay, dancing, it's an elective. 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309. Now, we got a couple of calls here. Let's jump right in and say hello to Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. What's up?
Okay, a couple things. Frankly, I believe Missoula's getting what they deserve. They are a screwed-up town, and mark my words, Missoula will be Detroit one day if something doesn't change there.
Well, hold on a second. Am I living in the Twilight Zone? Aren't you a citizen of Missoula?
No, I'm not.
Oh, so where do you live?
I live in Lolo, which is too close to Missoula, in my opinion.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you didn't live in the city, so go ahead.
Yeah.
My apologies. Go ahead.
No problem. And I do want to get to the Mrs. Clinton thing real quick, but before that, I want to say that there's a lot of shakedowns going on with issues like rape and all kinds of other things. So So, and controlled by the federal government, and this whole social engineering that's going around the rape thing, I think people need to look at that in the way that the liberals redefine rape, and they have an agenda, and, you know, we need to, when they talk about their rape numbers and all of this, they have all these years falsified their numbers and overemphasized subjects to satisfy their agenda. Okay.
Right. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Marilyn.
Thanks for your
Appreciate
call,
it.
Marilyn.
All right, let's get, we do have Ryan Zinke on the line. Ryan, good morning, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Hey, great to be with you. You know, any day in Montana is a better day than Washington, D.C.
Are you actually in Montana right now?
No, I'm leaving on Sunday. I'm actually moving today, so I'm hitch hitting and multitasking.
No, we'll enjoy it vicariously for you then.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm never gonna like D.C. and I guess the moment a person starts liking D.C., maybe it's time to come home. So I was sent here to fix the problem, not become part of it.
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up with you today, I noticed you were on national news a couple days ago talking about fracking and new federal regulations on federal land. I was hoping you could kind of tell our audience what you've been talking about with the people in D.C.
Well, here's part of the problem, is you have people in D.C. making decisions that affect Montana in the West, and they don't even know where Montana is in the map. And I think it's a fair statement to say if you don't know the difference between Butte, Bozeman, and Missoula, maybe you're not the right person to make these decisions. And the fracking rules are better addressed at the state level because that's where the expertise is. And the geology in Montana is totally different than the geology in Oklahoma. And there hasn't been an accident in fracking once. Now there could be if you don't do a geological survey, if you don't put a casing in, if you go on a fault line. There's all sorts of things that need to have rules and regulations to make sure there's not an accident. But for the Department of Interior, to come out with a new set of rules that cost about $100,000 additional per wellhead, that doesn't do anything other than cause more, longer process, new permitting process. I think it's inappropriate.
Well, we do have a caller that has a question for you. So let's get Dave on the line. Dave, you are on with Congressman Zinke. Go ahead. Oops, hold on. Stand by.
Button, who's got the button?
Okay, now, Dave, you're on with Congressman Zinke. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was watching Fox last night, and all they could talk about was the Clintons and uranium. Okay, and it turns out that the Clintons have been involved in, for all intents and purposes, selling Wyoming and other parts of the United States uranium mining to the Soviet. Well, it's not called the Soviet Union anymore. It's called
it's a Russian shell
Vladimir
company.
Land or some damn thing. Anyway, I think that the federal government is very good at invoking national security. Well, maybe they should do it in this instance and avoid this whole contract or whatever with the Russians owning these mines in this country.
Okay, so we'll ask the Congressman. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, it's just one more Clinton scandal. I think the emails hurt her more than she thinks, because if you loved Hillary before, you still love her now. If you hated her, I think it fueled the fire. But if you were in the middle and undecided, her 4 points I think are not credible. And it's just one more example. Then you go back to the cattle futures. How everyone else around her loses money and she gains. I think the figure was around $800,000. The rest of us would go to jail. Then you have Whitewater. Then you have what appears to be the Clinton Foundation, raising money, foreign money, at the same time that she's Secretary of State. It smells. And America, it isn't about a woman president. It's about the right woman. So if we want a woman as the president, let's find someone who's credible, who's honest, who's experienced. And there's a lot of women out there that can be and should be, running. But I think when you're dishonest, I just don't see how America's going to say yes.
Ryan, I was just watching all this coverage last night on all the networks, and I was talking with my wife, and I said, I think I understand now what the attraction is with this particular woman. And that is the fact that from the beginning, the first time we got to know her, when her husband ran for president, all that, is that she has been able to do everything she's ever wanted and has gotten away with it every single time. And for some reason, that holds a bizarre fascination for people. Am I wrong or what?
It's the catch me if you can.
You might be right, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make it palatable that you'd have an individual that wants to be president of the United States that the laws don't apply to her or him. And we have a president today that seems to be that the law doesn't apply to him, that somehow he feels that he can ignore the Constitution at times. My job is to make sure that Montana values. One of them is integrity, honesty, and hold people accountable. And I like the Congress. I like the House because I get a report card every 2 years. And I like when either the far right or left or Tea Party or whatever you want to call it calls me and says, I'm going to hold you accountable for your vote. I expect that people should hold their elected officials accountable. So I'm enjoying the House and I'm enjoying the accountability. I'm going to hold people like Hillary Clinton accountable too.
Okay, we have a 1 minute break and then we have a call, and we're going to wrap things up here in about 8 minutes. So we'll be right back with more with Congressman Zinke in a moment. We're back on Talkback 721-1290. Go ahead.
We got lots of phone calls in. We got one quick question from Mike, who called in, wanted to just get your position. Should the federal government cancel the uranium contracts with that Russian shell company after what's been found out now?
Well, I think we should look at it in detail. You might want to make sure the sources are credible. It's been brought up. We should run it to ground. And if it's in the interest of our national security to cancel it, then we should cancel it. But I want to know why and whether there was a quid pro quo on it. And I think America should know that the truth should reign supreme. And if there's tomfoolery around the edges and it's not in the best interest of America, then yes, we should cancel.
All right, callers.
Let's get Candy on. Candy, you're on with Congressman Zinke. Go ahead.
Good morning, Ryan. Just to let you know where I'm coming from, I was married to a Navy SEAL, a SEAL Team 1, Vietnam wounded, and I'm married to an Army reservist right now.
Well, bless your heart.
Well, yeah, and I would like, since you're talking about honesty and integrity in the processes of government, I would like you to explain Jade Helm 15 and exactly what's going on with that, training maneuvers, so that the American people can know that they're still safe and that we're not instituting martial law. And I'll take your answer offline.
Thanks for your call.
Could you explain Jade Helm?
Jade Helm is this. Right? Jade Helm is this 7-state training exercise that's being done by the military.
A lot of folks are very upset that it's happening on our soil, and that it seems like is introducing posse comitatus into preparing to take out conservative folks who believe in the Bible and the Constitution, things like that.
Well,
you know what I mean.
Well, let me do some research on it because I'm not familiar with the exercise. But let me before I answer, let me get the facts and pursue it. And I've run military operations and exercises within the United States a lot. And in general, I support training, but it has to be for the right reasons.
Let
me look into that, and I'll be glad to get back with you in person.
Allow me to ask you, Ryan, because I grew up basically on Marine bases my whole life, and were most of those exercises primarily done within the confines of a military reservation, or were they done in communities or wherever it needed to be done?
You know, a lot of times, especially in in urban areas. For instance, when I was at Field Team 6, we used to take the helicopters to cities like New Orleans, St. Louis, and even New York, because you don't have those type of buildings on military bases. So you want to make sure your training is realistic, because you look at where special operations oftentimes is called to go. It might be Baghdad, it might be Tehran, and so you want to make sure that your training that is realistic to where you might have to go, which is buildings and built up areas. So, in my experience, I have trained in U.S. cities, and when we do that, we talk to the mayor, we talk to the congressional district, the whole big checklist. But it's really to mimic a training area and not to train against U.S. citizens.
Okay, let's get Jerry on the line. Jerry, you're on with Congressman Zinke. Go ahead.
Good morning, Congressman. I recently wrote you a letter about the problems of a disabled veteran and the problems I'm having with the VA system here in Missoula. A very nice, very polite lady responded to me, but she absolutely refused to tell me how to get that letter directly to you. Could you tell me the process of making you aware of the problems that the veterans are having here in the Bitterroot? And a real quick question, I understand that you're coming to Victor in May. Could you talk a little bit about your visit? Thank you.
Well, two things. One, I'm easy to get a hold of. We now have an office in Missoula. So Evan Wilson is there. Our main office is in Billings. And certainly if it was Zach Gamble, a former Navy sailor, is part of the congressional office, and he makes sure that anyone that has a problem with the VA, any veteran issue, we make sure we document it, we track it, and I personally look at those, review the cases, on a weekly or weekly basis. So you can go directly into the Missoula office, or you can contact me, by email. I'm available. Go to the website and do it that way. But if I can get just leave your name, and I'll make sure that our office contacts you.
Okay, let's get one more call on. We are almost out of time. We have about a minute left. So, Marilyn, please go ahead.
Hi. Some of us found out what JADE Helm actually stands for, and it stands for Joint Assistant of Developmental Execution. That's the JADE part. And then HELM, this is really disturbing, Homeland Eradication of Local Militants. So, unless the militants are the terrorists on our soil, the Somalis and such, then,
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's give him the final minute to respond.
Let me find out what's going on in that, because and this is why it's so important. I think to reach out and have folks give me a call and be on these radio shows, because I wasn't aware of it. I am now, but this is why it's important for, I think, your congressman and your delegation to hear it from folks directly.
Okay,
so
Ryan,
thank you for bringing it to my attention, and let me pull the chain and see what's there.
We're almost out of time. Thanks again, Ryan, for calling in to talk back.
No, pleasure, and God bless America, and have a great weekend in Montana.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care, sir.
We'll enjoy it for you.
Best of luck moving. Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it. What's coming up on Monday's fabulous radio program?
We have, let's see, I think it's talking about alternative energy on Monday, and that should be an interesting conversation. Also, some open phones on Monday.
You guys have a great, great day. Don't forget the Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast tomorrow, and have a great day.